been a fun ride.
Are we getting right into it right now? We're not even like do an intro?
Fuck no.
All right.
Be more cinematic that way.
Oh, it reminds me when I was 15. That is not good whiskey.
So you saw it here first. That just broke his fast.
3 days. Well, it's the 12th on my watch. So there you go. 3 days early, I broke my fast.
There you go.
So to have a drink together on our last episode. Tear.
Sad
Try not to get emotional here for you guys.
No, it's been a fun ride. Talking about, our tagline for the show for the longest time, good conversations, good people, any good conversation worth having is worth having drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of cut out the alcohol a little bit there towards the end. I know we caught some flack for it. I definitely got some Facebook messages from people talking about how they didn't want to tune in because we were drunk on the show. And all they heard was the tagline.
Right.
Very rarely did we actually get drunk on the show.
It
was a little tipsy towards the end.
There was a few. There was a
handful.
Yeah. If you pay attention, it's when Evan's questions got a little squirrely.
The more Tony Robbins came out, the drunker Evan got.
Right. There you go. Hey, it's not a show unless you reference Tony Robbins, right? There you go. Got that dialed in. But no, and I mean, shit. Some of our guests, they had a little tipsy. But I remember sometimes in the early days when we were having it, and like before I had kids, clearly, of sitting on after hours and just continuing to drink after hours. Like I think the record was 3 hours that I had one time.
Yeah.
With somebody after and just continued to drink.
And Ashley was pregnant.
And
the dog needed to go for a walk.
Yeah, and so I was out in our sunroom, and so I'm keeping my fucking loaded. And I go into the sunroom and I lie down on the couch, and as the sun's beating down on me, it's hot, it feels great. And Ashley comes in and she's like, you gonna walk the dog? Nah. Are you gonna cook supper? Nah. You're just gonna lie here and have a nap? Yeah. And I KO, passed out, and woke up, 45 minutes later to no dog, no wife in the house. Luckily, she came back, but haven't made that same mistake twice.
Yeah, that was a funny one. And we ended up signing the guest as a client after the fact, so that was funny too.
That was fun. That came on board. So set the stage every time it was a monthly review call.
No, some of those times were, we called it our dreaming and scheming time.
Yep.
And so many fucking fun ideas came out of that were never implemented because we fucking forgot them the next day.
Couldn't remember them. We weren't writing them down. You need to describe in the room. So, yeah.
And then we started recording them for a minute.
Yeah.
And then we stopped doing that after because we were like, this is a waste of storage on Google Drive.
Right. Yeah. And well, some of it was probably pretty good, but it'll never see the light. It might make it out,
Who knows?
A year or two later, blackmail against some people. Sorry, Ishmael. Actually, I don't think we had after hours with Ishmael on that. So
no.
But
we definitely had some fun episodes though with guests that were, Christ, so many lessons.
Right.
That were fantastic. That got referenced again and again and again throughout the show. Some holy shit moments.
Mm-hmm.
Those were fun.
Mm. What was your top holy shit moment?
Definitely Gene Slade and Victor and Brittany going at it in the comments. I think that was our most commented live episode for sure.
Yeah.
It was 180 comments.
Oh, it just blew up. It was going nuts. And there was other people off in the comments. It was wild.
Yeah. And my favorite part was not the shit that was going on, but just the look on your comments, and we're trying to remediate there a little bit, play a little bit of mediation.
Yeah, I think at one point I had Gene and Victor signed up to have a charity boxing match, like the boxing match with each other.
Yeah.
But all proceeds go to charity.
Right.
And they both agreed to it. We should probably make that happen, guys.
We probably still should. That'd be funny. But yeah, you were all in the comments, and I had to completely ignore them so that I could just focus on the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because I remember after the fact, we had some conversations with people, and it was like, look, if you just ignore whatever feelings you had towards him, the content was solid.
Phenomenal content.
Right? And I think that's the case.
But by the way, Gene, no ill will towards you. You drop a phenomenal amount of value. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I love the stuff he's putting out now. He's doing so much more video content. But that's the case with so many like attending events and shit like this, there's so many lessons that are there that if you take aside your own ego and just pay attention to that, there's lessons to learn of what to do and what not to do,
right?
All at the same time.
Well, that's where you look at 250 plus episodes, 252 or whatever number this is, 3, 1. We can edit that maybe. No, we won't edit things. That's actually part of the thing is the raw, real, authentic part of our show.
Right.
But at this point, I mean, it's called HVAC Success Secrets Revealed for a reason. If you haven't learned fucking secrets by now, I mean, how many times can we say the same thing over and over again from different guests? But no, and like just the amount of like in how it shaped us and in our journey, and like in how it shaped our marketing company and how it shaped us as humans and conversations that we get to have with people. It's just been so much more powerful as a result of the podcast and the information that we've got from it. So
well, and like you said, there's only so many secrets that exist, and really they aren't fucking secrets. Everyone talks about them. It's the same shit. You know, I use the quote all the time of Jim Rohn. You know, be wary of the salesman who's touting newly manufactured antiques. Right? They're not new. They're old, and the success principles that exist within business it transcends the trades. It's the same core principles that when it comes to running a business, you need to have your financials in order. You need to build a strong culture. You need to make sure that you're taking care of your sales and your marketing, and you need to keep bringing in more people. And that was the premise of the whole entire thing. Every episode we did touched on those in some way, shape, or form.
It really did. And some went deep on just one topic, and some went across the board on all of them. And it was fascinating to be able to see that. So
strong operations would be another one as well.
Yes, I think I mean, there's a lot of good things that came out of it. And pick one, well, all of it matters. All of it's important.
Exactly.
To running a very successful business.
What were some of your favorite lessons that you took from the show?
Everybody hates me. I'm sorry, Coral. I couldn't resist. That was a fun episode back in the earlier days. But
man.
I'm in it.
And by the way, she is crushing it.
Oh, absolutely right crushing it. Yes.
Oh my gosh. She's working for one of our clients.
Yes.
And is doing absolutely incredible things.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful things. But I don't know if I can really pinpoint just one lesson or 2 lessons or 3 lessons in realistic aspects of things. It's all encompassing, really. When you look at running not just an HVAC business or a plumbing or electrical business, any business, really. Like some of the things we've learned from the podcast from guests, we put into the marketing company even, and it just transcends. And that's why there's no secrets in it. I mean, success leaves clues, and I think that's probably the biggest part in that if you lead with value, you help people, you're going to capture that in the back end. And when you show everything, like just being genuine and authentic to yourself, I think is the biggest thing that I've taken away from the show, because we did it when we first started. I mean, I remember when we first started the thing, it was just us sitting around drinking whiskey on a Wednesday talking about what we were learning with our agency coach. And then we brought on one of our friends, Nick Johnstone, and I don't remember what we talked about, but I remember we were drinking whiskey and having a conversation. Clifton Strengths. And then we brought on somebody else that wasn't even in the industry. And then we brought on somebody from the industry, and and we brought on one more person, and we're doing it live. And all of a sudden people were paying attention.
Right.
And it was, well, shit, I think we might be onto something here. We went with it. We branded it and put it out, and we started going live. We started doing the videos, and we were one of the first people that were starting doing video podcasts in our space. I mean, there were some other ones. I remember HVAC Overtime was doing it live on YouTube. But the way that we went with it, and just the raw, real, and authentic nature, and limited editing from it, and not pre-scripting it. A lot of people have actually said that that they actually really like the fact that we don't send out pre-vetted questions. Some people hated it.
Right.
I'm like, I don't want pre-vetted questions, pre-scripted answers. I want raw, real, authentic based off of what we're talking about in the moment.
Right.
And I think more people need to know to be able to be in the moment and talking about things.
Well, and even this episode, you and I were like, what do you want to talk about? And I was like, I don't fucking know. Like, let's just shoot the shit.
We'll just wing it. So see how either long or short we can go.
Yeah, we'll keep it on brand.
Right? I mean, if the whiskey was better, I'd probably drink more, but I don't think I can even, I don't even think I can drink that.
It's pretty bad.
It tastes like spoiled maple syrup.
It's super, super sweet.
Yeah.
I actually mixed it last night with bourbon, and then it was good because it was the taste of the maple, but it still tasted like alcohol, so it was good.
Well, Some bottles are good and some bottles aren't.
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
Well, this one's Quebecois, so.
Soy Quebecois. Only people from Alberta can do that.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love the failures. I love when people were authentic about that and talked about some of the struggles.
Yep.
Because it's letting people know the reality of the situation, right?
Right.
Even for the last month, as we've been discussing like the end of the show and winding it down, like it almost felt inauthentic to not share earlier that we were going to be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously there were reasons behind that. But that's what social media is a lot of times. It's this facade.
Yep.
And you see all the things that people are doing right, and rarely do people pull back the curtain and actually show you what they're doing wrong, or what they did do wrong in order to get to the right.
Yep.
And I loved when people did that.
Yep. And so for those that are watching this, we're obviously recording this on the 17th of October. It's coming out on October 30th. And so we've been at Service World Expo and obviously moving pieces and finalizing what the vision's going to look like. Can't say, we're bye. And then they're like, well, what's going to happen, right? And so there's a lot of things that have moved in place in that. It's almost like selling a business, right? You're not going to go tell everybody that you're selling a business until you've essentially got it across the goal line and what things look like in the moving pieces. But we've been having conversations with people here, and they're excited for the new journey of Evan and of Thaddeus and what that means for the show and what that means for On Purpose Media.
Yeah. So, well, let's roll into that.
Sure. Well, so as everybody is probably wondering, well, what's going to happen with Thaddeus? What's going to happen with Evan? We actually shared a room here, so in case anybody's wondering, we are 100% solid and good. Mind you, his travel agent himself, me, didn't book the room. Full disclosure, we were on a phone call and legitimately thought I booked the room, and he thought I booked the room. I remember seeing the pre-auth and everything, unless I fucking dreamt it. But shows up, he's like, I don't have a room. So we're like, whatever, we'll just share a room. So we're still solid, in case anybody is ever wondering that. I know the narrative that sometimes happens when we're co-hosts of what's going to happen, what does it look like, how does it play out? But no, we're solid. I want everybody to understand that. But in terms of what's next, for me anyways, I can speak on me and I'll let you speak on you. For me, it's still continuing to focus on Purpose Media in helping home service businesses, HVAC, plumbing, electrical businesses dominate their websites, their SEO, and their Google ads. That's never going to change. That's still part of the narrative for that. As you and I have discussed, part of my transition on the content side is going to be more moving into some different thought leadership type stuff in terms of what I'm doing on running a business, because at the end of the day, we're not just podcasters. Like, we run a business, right? We run a marketing company, marketing agency. We have 15 team members that are part of our company. And so those lessons in terms of the business side transcend businesses. 2 weeks ago, we gave the message on creating a successful work culture at Business Uncensored. Well, I took the things that I've learned in our digital marketing company and I translated those out for the folks that were at the new Flat Rates Business Uncensored, because that's the same shit, right? Core values and vision are the same no matter what business line you're in. So that's what you're going to see from me in terms of some of the stuff that I'm going to be moving in and positioning itself and continue to crush it for businesses on the digital marketing front.
Love it. Yeah, and I'm excited for On Purpose Media. Some of the results that have been coming in for clients, it's better than it's ever been, which is exciting, right? And I love so many of our clients. There's a couple that I don't like, but that's all right.
I can't you don't need to like everybody.
No, absolutely. No. You don't even need to like the people you love.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Don't like you most of the time, so that's why we're here.
Kidding, by the way. Unless you wanted to dovetail off anything there, but what's next for Evan?
So the podcast is ending, but it's not the end of podcast for Evan. I have way too much fun with this shit. So going to be launching a new branded podcast. We'll see how it's all structured. It's going to be called Let's Vent, which I came up with that name a while back. We hashed it out with a few different people, talked it out. And it was funny because everyone pushed back against it. And I really wanted to stick with it because the play on words, when it comes to plumbing, HVAC, electrical, roofing, it doesn't matter. It's going to be for the trades entirely. And we're going to dive into issues, actual issues that people are dealing with on a constant basis. And just get it off your chest. Let's talk about it. And again, it's bringing back still that raw, real, and authentic conversation, which that's what we did with this show. That's what I'm going to continue to do with that show.
Yep.
And a lot more of this, a lot more face to face. Trying to do less digital on screen.
Yep.
Because like the conversations that we have at these events, you know, the one that we released last week with Andy Ubaika, so much fun to get to see people in person and have real conversations with them. And
the energy.
Yeah, it's very different than being on a screen. And so it's going to be fun. I'm really, really, really fucking excited for it.
Yeah, it's going to be a good journey.
Yeah.
And I know that the Let's Vet name, when we kicked it around, prior to having, going in this path that we're going down, was one that, there was actually some people that loved it.
Yep.
Absolutely loved it. And some people are like, ooh, that's maybe a little edgy, but it's also understanding the purpose behind it, right? It's getting it off the chest. What's your issue? What are you facing? What are you struggling? Vent about something that can help other people.
Right.
And I think that's the thing with it. I mean, again, play on words. As soon as I said to somebody who's not even in our industry, when I kicked that idea to him in terms of the branding, he's like, oh, that's a good play on words.
Yeah. No, I'm super excited for it. More real good conversations. Just shooting the shit with people. That's what I like to do.
Well, looking forward to seeing the journey.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I think people are going to be curious as to like what brought us to this point. And I mean, I don't know how much you want to share there. I'm open to share whatever. So
I will leave it with you.
All right. I mean, you and I have been working together for 4 years now, running this company since we launched.
October 2020 or 2019.
2019. We started the conversations.
We started in November. We're like, all right, fuck it, let's do it. So,
So
almost 5 years.
It'll be 5 years now.
Yeah.
And it's been a wild journey. We went through COVID. We figured that out. Launched podcasts. We figured that out. Worked with clients. Figured that out. Have grown an incredible team now with amazing people. And I know for us over the last year, we kind of separated our roles a little bit more as we dove into EOS. And as I moved more and more external from the team, you dove in internally and really did an incredible job with recruiting as a testament now to the team that we have.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, it got to the point where I'll own my shit. I was not doing a good enough job at my role. And the change needed to happen. And it was the right time for it, because there is no perfect timing ever.
No.
And so I knew that needed to be done, and we had the hard conversation, and here we are. So it is what it is. And like I said, I can't be more excited about the direction that I'm going in and being able to dive in and really help contractors out.
Well, and you think about that owning it, and I think that's where a lot of people miss the mark, to be honest. And I mean, we've had lots of business partners on partnerships. Some of that are really successful, some that have went sour and they never talk to the person again. Some that are amicable if they split. And it's always centered around having a tough, honest conversation and not shying away from a tough, honest conversation, because if you face it head on. And even Michael Vanitas, we talked a little bit about that too, down at Service World. And when you go for it, you have to rip the Band-Aid off. You have to have those tough conversations. But then when you base it off of facts, not necessarily the feelings behind it, is where you can end up having that gauge, and you can say, okay, well, factually, was this still the right thing? Ignoring the feelings. And I think a lot of business owners miss that mark and miss that opportunity, not only with business partners, but with just their team members all around. And, I commend you for essentially taking it on the chin, like a champ, and, we can still be this, right? And I think that's a big thing. So if anybody's ever going through, by the way, issues with a business partner, issues with, a spouse, you've navigated a divorce, right? And in a separation, and now into a very successful relationship with a new one. I say our conversation, I've told people this, is that the conversations that you and I have had over the last 4 to 6 weeks, about this has been probably my top 3 most difficult conversations in my entire life. My first one was the time, well, I guess if I go in order, would have been the first time 15 years ago when I had to confront my substance abuse with, the white powdery stuff. Hell of a drug, by the way. And I've talked about that on the show, right? Being open and honest with Corey Barrier in terms of those component things. I don't really actively talk about it too terribly much, although I am a gift to the world, and that is my offering through where I want to position myself. But the second one was the time that I told my wife that I think I want to get a divorce, but before I go that road, I want to try therapy.
Right.
And we spent Christmas together, and that was it that year. I went to New Year's somewhere else. We didn't talk for like 5 days.
Right.
Other than like, you good? Yeah, good. Like checking in to say like Happy New Year. It's like 5 days of not talking to each other. And we're just disconnected from each other, like tough time. And now this, right? And so the thing is everybody has shit in life. Everybody has problems in life. Everybody has tough things and tough moments and that they're going through. Reach out and ask for help to somebody, whether that's me, whether that's Evan, whether it's somebody in your circle. Just don't do it alone.
Right.
So now that now we just always have to, so around like the 25-minute mark, we got to stop and restart the cameras because of the space. But when we were in Business Uncensored and I was recording Evan's talk, so Evan does a lot of the behind the scenes setup. I kind of just like show up and record. And so thank you, by the way, for doing all the stuff and the research and getting everything set up. He had to show me how to work these mics. And they're the stupidest, easiest things to work. I mean, I could have figured it out. I was just lazy. But anyway, so I went to record one of his videos and I put it on slow motion for the entire thing. And I'm like, I don't know, sorry, bud. Whoops. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, there's been some funny fuck ups with the show too.
Oh, yeah.
I remember Amanda Triolo that we had on at Profit Rocket, and there was no sound for the first 20 minutes of the episode.
Oh,
when we
recorded the whole thing, and and then somebody's like, and then after we're like, so Amanda, do you want to redo that? She's like, well, I said some good shit. I'm like, yeah, I just have to try it again. So it wasn't as good the second time. It was still really good, but it wasn't as good. So yeah. Or the time that I think was it you or was it me that I think the video thing was me in Profit Rocket, but then we had it was Cassie and Leslie were on.
Right.
And and we're like right in the middle of the show, and Evan just ends the recording by accident, and it's just like, what just happened? And so we had to go restart a new room, go live, all that. So, and then when I was on with Corey, like you weren't on that one, and I remember we were talking to Dan, like Corey and I had a very deep conversation, a very deep episode, unpacked a lot of stuff, and it was just like uncovering things. I think that's like one of my favorite highlights of the show, is just getting to the struggles and the pains and the realizations that people don't necessarily want to tell or talk, but we ask the questions to be able to pull that out. Right. But I remember on there, my internet had just shot out, and like wrapping up the show, and all of a sudden Corey's left on the show. No Thad, just our guest. And so I'm scrambling to try to get back into the room. I think I might have exited the room. I don't remember exactly what happened, but all of a sudden I come back and I pop on, and I think I jumped in on my phone with data, and I'm like, I'm sorry, my internet just went out. But he's like, yeah, I guess he handled it like a champ because he has his own podcast. So
that's funny. Yeah, I was sick as a dog
right
that day.
Yeah,
I texted you earlier. I was like, I don't know if I can do it or not.
Yeah,
and I slept through the entire episode.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is like we want to go live with it. I mean, there's going to be hiccups in technology, and I think that's also the raw, real, authentic nature, that more people just need to see the unfinished, unpolished product sometimes, or the unfinished, unpolished component of the business. I can't remember who was saying something the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, man or woman after my heart. They're saying, oh, it's actually Cody on the when we had him on the podcast. He's like, SOPs, procedures, 80% goods, great, send it.
Right.
Doesn't wait for 100%, because if you wait for 100%, nothing will ever be perfect and nothing will ever get done. 80% there, send it.
Yep. 100%. Yeah, that's so fucking essential, and something that I struggle with, because I want things to be done a certain way. It's why I rarely went back and watched or listened to any of our episodes, because I knew that I would like critique the fuck out of it and they wouldn't go out. And so I, letting our editors do their thing and put the content out so that it could just be out, because otherwise it would be like a lot of the work that I did that was mostly finished, but not quite.
It's okay. I'm not good at it either. I'm not good at getting like two quick starts in a room, right? Nothing gets done. Too low follow-throughs. High. It's actually funny. My follow-through is lower than yours, but our quick starts are roughly the same. But
it was probably because I did the same thing on that test that I did on most tests, where I got bored halfway through and just started pressing answers.
Just started pressing things randomly and willy-nilly. But here's the thing. So a lot of business owners listen to this, and you're like, okay, well, I struggle with that. You're probably raising your hand like, I just have a tough time getting shit done. Okay, well, here's something that I've learned across the last several years of running our company, is that and in fact, I'm doing it right now with the team in a project that I'm working on, and saying, great, I've got the first 10%. And this is a Dan Martell thing, and so you get the first 10%, I've got it, I will get it done, I'll start it.
Right.
Now that next 80% is on you, and of course there's going to be some questions or whatever and guidance to be able to get that thing 80% of the next 80%. Now it's 90% done. That last 10% is me to finish it and get it across the goal line. And if somebody who has the squirrel brain or the quick start mentality, the visionary mindset, whatever, you want to move on to the next project without seeing it through, that's what you need. Is you need somebody to be able to do that 80% in the middle.
Right.
If you can get somebody to do that 80% in the middle, I'm telling you, it's absolutely amazing, because now the team can be able to rock and roll with it and be able to empower them, because you delegate and elevate, another EOS term.
Right. No, 100%. And I still struggled with it, even trying to do that route. Because there was always the feeling of I can do it better.
Yep.
And done is better than perfect.
Right. So, but I'm actually curious on that, because when you look at this done is better than perfect, I know that's something that I had struggles with early on, and I mean I still struggle with it. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that's something that I'm ever any entrepreneur ever gets rid of. But I've gotten to the point where I'm just like I'm internally at peace with it, because I know that when they own it, they're going to go with it. What things has there been anything that you've done that have been like, okay, I recognize this in myself, I need to be able to try to allow them to be able to get this out and have it done, not necessarily perfect?
It was adding in people that we trusted, our director of operations, being able to hand things off to her and just know that it was going to get taken care of. And then not even going back to it, not to see that final 10%. I left it alone completely. Because again, I would go in and I would critique, and I would want to make it even better, et cetera. And I think in some ways that would have been fine, and in other ways it would have held up the entire project,
right?
Whatever it was, whether it was a website build or an SEO thing or an operations thing and building out SOPs. I needed to hand it off and just be done with it, and just trust that someone else was going to take care of it.
Yep.
Because otherwise it just wouldn't have.
Yeah, you're not alone in that thought process.
Totally.
No, lots of people struggle with that. Lots of owners struggle with that.
Yeah. But the downfall in it is I also didn't hold people accountable to making sure that it got done, or that there wasn't a standard that was set beforehand, and especially before Deidre had come on, our director of ops, because we didn't have those standards in place.
Yeah, he would go to me and I wouldn't get it across the goal line because another quick start.
Yeah, exactly.
Get it most of the way there, like,
Yeah. Well, and that was one of the most frustrating things. Anytime I had an idea, I would go to you and be like, hey, man, what do you think of this? And you're like, hey, go do it. Like, fuck you. I gave it to you so you would do it.
Yeah, and I didn't want to do it because, again, and it's also understanding, and I don't want to say it was doomed from the beginning, the relationship that we had. I mean, 2 + 2 is definitely obviously equaling 3 and 4 in the beginning, but I think when you get to a point in an organization, if you get two visionaries at the top, and like we went through this in EOS, and I think EOS helped unpack a lot of this, and could help businesses too. That if you have, when you look at people that we've had on, they say, yeah, I'm a visionary, the other person's an integrator, husband-wife teams, business partner teams, I'm the visionary and the integrator. Well, I'm not an integrator. Right?
You tried to play the role of both.
I tried to play the role of both for a while. I tried to play the role of integrator for a while. It wasn't fulfilling. I tried to play the role of both for a while. It was kind of sort of fulfilling, and then we're both in the visionary seat, and then all of a sudden you start butting heads, and maybe as an organization's bigger and allows for the space to have two visionaries, maybe.
Right.
But I mean that could have been when I look at in hindsight and retroactively thinking about that, is saying, okay, if you are going to go into business partnership, it's fine. And like we have a good yin and a yang. Don't get me wrong, and I think there's a lot of synergies in there. But when it comes to actual operational processes inside the business, we're both not good at it. Right. And if there is a business partnership, it's finding a true visionary and a true integrator to be able to get those things done. Because when you have that integrator visionary relationship, that's the power. That's what makes things happen.
Correct. Yeah. Well, even looking back to when we started, I mean, we were both doing sales at the same time, and both doing outreach and both doing the marketing. Like everything was done together, and then we're both kind of like, well, now what? Who's gonna make sure that we actually fulfill the work? And,
it defaulted to me.
Yeah, because we were both kind of doing that too. But between the two of us, definitely you had the stronger operational sense.
Yes.
And so it was a de facto.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Fuck.
But yeah, Alex Hermosi, he talks about this in partnerships, and that it's interesting that when people get to, $1 million, 5 million, 10 million, they're so reluctant to give up equity at that point.
Yes.
But when the business isn't worth anything, they'll give up the most amount of equity.
Yep.
And it's the most expensive transaction you'll make.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a partner that isn't willing to give up either time, money, or experience in order to help you grow, then it's not a good deal. Right? And they need to be able to bring at least one of those three things to the table. And both of us did bring time, but neither of us had experience in digital.
Yeah.
Right.
When we first started, 5
Correct.
years, 5 years now.
Correct.
5 years now.
We had the marketing background, we had the sales background, all of that was fine and dandy, which is why we were able to get to this point and understand the digital, because we took the principles of print media that we did. We took the principles of some guerrilla marketing that we both used to do, and then applied it to digital and just learned the techniques behind that side of it. And that's why we have clients that have been thriving for years now working with us. But yeah, neither of us had those other two aspects of the capital in order to invest into the business. It was all time. And yeah, it was, I'm not going to say a bad transaction or a bad idea. It got us to where we're at, but in order to get to that next level, it needs to be a different direction there.
I have no regrets. But it's funny that you mentioned Hormozy, and I've been, I can't remember the guy's name, but he has a newsletter. It's called the 8-Figure Agency. I know, original, right?
Right.
But for marketing companies, obviously. And he said, there's an email that came out like a week or two ago, and he's like, most people won't want to, like to his point, don't want to give up. And maybe he got it from Hormozy and just respun it into his own words, repurpose it, didn't reference it, whatever. But he is right. I mean, there's sometimes where you want to go, let's say you're at 5 and you want to go to 10, but you need somebody that has the experience. Well, they come in and they want equity. Well, if they're the right person, give them some equity.
Totally.
Right? Because they're going to help you get to that point. Don't be scared to give it up, because you're going to get there, right? And like, okay, so you give up 10% on a sale value. Okay, well, if you get 10% of, it was 100% of 5 million, or you give 90% of 10 million, well, guess what's more money?
Right.
90% of 10 million.
Every time.
Every time.
Yeah.
So random numbers.
Do you want a big piece of a small pie or a small piece of a big pie?
Exactly.
Right. And
unless they're the same size pie piece.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Sorry, I had to go literal.
But and then we've had some conversations with owners here. Tommy, when he came on the show, talked about it too, and he talked about it in his book Elevate. Being able to give part of their sale back to the people who helped them get there.
Yes.
And Tommy's investors were kind of looking at him a little funny. A CFO was looking at him a little funny, like, you're giving away how much of your business?
What do you make, equity? Like 25 millionaires out of that?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah. Right? And an amazing feeling after the fact. But real leadership is about the people and giving back to those that helped you get there.
Yeah.
And I've always loved that idea and being able to dramatically impact the people that helped you get there. So
people, product, price. I learned that in the passenger elevator industry. That was one that I was forbidden for saying for the longest of times.
Why do you have to say passenger elevator?
Because why do you have to say passenger elevator? So look, where I live in Alberta, and right next to it is Saskatchewan, and it's prairies, like it's like Idaho, right? Yeah, probably pretty close to Idaho. Prairies land, farmland. And I would talk to people in the Cutco or like after whatever, and I was like, yeah, I'm in the elevator industry. They're like, oh, so like grain elevators? No, passenger elevators, the ones that you ride up and down. So that's why I have to say passenger elevator industry.
You went on a string of, God, I don't know how many episodes in the beginning where you would talk about back when I was in the passenger elevator industry.
Yep.
And I have to say passenger elevator, and then you would go on the tangent and explain it all again.
And then I stopped that and just said passenger elevator industry. And then I stopped that because you're like, you say it all the time. I'm like, that's like Tony Robbins.
At least Tony Robbins has some relevant thoughts. Oh, man.
Hey, I have some relevant thoughts every now and again.
Every now and then.
Usually found at the bottom of a bottle. Those are usually irrelevant thoughts.
Yes, definitely. I have an irrational fear of elevators, so I'm started taking steps to work on it.
Fuck, where was I? I was in an elevator with a ton of people, and somebody. It was 2 weeks ago, Business Uncensored, and it was from like the Cavern or whatever. It's like a 650-foot elevator or some shit like that. And people are like, "Are we going to overload? Or is it going to break? Is it going to fall? Are we going to die?" I'm like, "Actually, fun fact." And I went off with this fact about elevators. I'm like, in the history of elevators, nobody's ever died in like an elevator catastrophic failure in like the history. There was one time where somebody either got super injured or died because back in like the 40s, an airplane flew into a building in New York, ironically enough, and the engine landed, not the Twin Towers, but the engine landed on top of an elevator, and of course the weight of it caused the elevator to go down to the ground. People walked away with bumps and injuries, but the only reason that people die in elevators is because they get out of the elevators when it's stuck and it's between floors, and then it moves and zing. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So anyways, there's my random factoids. Fun facts with Dad, new episode coming soon.
I still think you should do that channel. Yeah. I think that would be fantastic.
I'll do a playlist underneath my YouTube channel.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
YouTube.com/@Thaddeus Tondu. It's got 0 followers, so hopefully you can add something there.
Any final thoughts?
It's been a fun ride, man. It's been a journey. As I said earlier, there's no regrets in what we've done and what we've built and what we're going to continue to do. I know you and I continue to have conversations around how can we continue to advise and help each other out in our growth. How can I help in your podcast journey and what your next steps are? How can you help in my journey with the marketing company, what our next steps are? And it's just, and I think that the biggest thing for me that I take out of this is the friendship that we have, and that we're going to continue to maintain, and we're going to continue to have conversations with some of the people around here when we talk about where we're going, and they're like, "Well, is it amicable? Are you guys okay?" Like,
always.
Yeah, it's amicable. Because why? Because we had tough conversations and we had honest conversations, and I think that's my biggest takeaway from the podcast, what we've done, our conversations here, and where we're going. Is to just have a real conversation. When you have a reasonable conversation with a reasonable person about a reasonable topic, it'll produce a reasonable outcome. And I think more people need to understand those 4 things, because that's how you actually win at different things.
Correct.
That's my final thought. What about you?
Just gratitude. I've loved doing this show. I've loved the guests that we've had on. I've loved doing it with you. So I definitely appreciate you being a average co-host.
Thank you. Better than below average. I'll take that.
Right. And the sponsors.
All right. So we've had, and I don't want to miss anybody, so we have the information here. So it's Chirp, Service Rocket with Victor, Vancouver Chirp, obviously Ryan Fenn, Real Time 360 with Matt Benton, Sarah with Billy Stevens. We've had Elite Call, Service Nation, Free to Grow, and our newest one, Lace.
There you go. Yeah, thank you to all of you. Yes. We're definitely still going to be moving forward with sponsors on the new show.
Don't worry.
And,
yes.
A lot of them I'm sure will be sticking around because they're great people, and yeah.
Yep.
Very, very grateful for all of it. And it's all of you fuckers. Thank you so much for tuning in. Because without you listening, well, it would just be a couple of Canadians chirping each other a little bit and talking shit. So
drinking Evan's shitty maple whiskey.
So thank you to all of you, to anyone that's ever tuned in. Appreciate you a lot. We did this show to give back because as a marketing company, we could never work with everyone. And so we wanted to create something that was going to make a difference in just one person's business and add some value to them. And I think we did that, and maybe even impacted a life or two. Who knows?
I know we've impacted a life or two because of the things that people have said to me and the messages that they've come out and they've said. And so, and look, a lot of times 90% of the people that are consuming content never say anything.
Right.
9% of them are going to like and comment, and 1% creates. And so, so I guess we're part of the 1%, but really it's to the 90% who've never ever said anything to us. Thank you so much. I mean, and everybody really for that matter. I mean, thank you at the bottom of our hearts. And we'd love to hear it. If you feel that there's been impact and we've changed the course of your business, send us a message. We'd love to hear it because it's done for you guys.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess for the final time. Actually, I was going to say no. What's one last question? But I don't want to go down that road. I think we've done a pretty good ending here. So, but until next time.
Cheers.